Okay, so continuing with tools that you can use to help you in doing your projects, what Paolo talked about was good resources for how to find relevant papers if you, for example, want to perform a literature review or a study of some empirical methods. Then you can use Google Scholar or even Archive or these awesome links to come up with those. Another set of things that you're going to want to look at are where to get data if you're doing one of the actual experimentation. So the two types of your projects where you have one which is empirically evaluating existing algorithms and the other one is trying to design a new algorithm. In either case, you're going to need data. So one of the best resources for this is a site called Kaggle. And it's basically the site for data science practitioners. And what they do is they will host competitions which are generally sponsored by some private company where they provide a data set and a cash prize. And then you can sign up as yourself or as a team, download their data, and try and train some machine learning algorithms on that. Submit your predictions to that competition. And if at the end of the competition you've produced the best set of predictions for that data set, then you can win money, which is pretty great. So this is an example of some of their active competitions right now. So trying to predict stock movements, I think that's an older one. Earthquake prediction, landmark recognition, and you can see that some of these cash prizes are actually quite substantial. And that's quite interesting. Another useful thing that they provide, which can be helpful for you guys if you're getting started, is they have kernels, which are basically snippets of code which are submitted from different users, which they've found helpful for, say, feature extraction or training a particular type of model on some data. And if you ever compete in one of these competitions, what you'll probably find is that a huge amount of the work, which you didn't expect, is just downloading and cleaning and pre-processing the data and extracting features from it. And normally the fun bit for people is actually trying out different models on that data set. But even getting to the point of where you can start running models on it takes a lot of time. So these kernels can be quite helpful for just somebody's pre-written code for downloading and cleaning up all of the data that you don't then have to worry about. And I just did want to add a little disclaimer in here that if you are directly copying these kernels and then trying to pass it off as your own work, then that is like a textbook academic integrity violation, so don't do that. Some other useful features of Kaggle are the user rankings. So if you compete in a bunch of competitions and you do well in them, then you'll have a high user ranking, and people are kind of like to brag about that. They have a job board and a forum, which I haven't used. For the job board, I'm not sure how active it is. For the forum, it's generally for discussing like a particular data set and some feature of the data that you're observing, or how do I do this? And then finally, the most useful thing for you guys is going to be their data sets. So they maintain almost 17,000 data sets from current and closed competitions. So even after a competition is finished and you can no longer enter predictions for money, you can still go and download that data set and then submit your predictions to their evaluation algorithm, which will tell you how well your algorithm did on that data. And these cover basically any discipline that you can think of. There are like the classic problems, such as the iris data set or predicting diabetes or breast cancer. Computer vision problems like the Stanford dogs data set, I believe, is recognizing breeds of dogs from photos. Natural language processing, medical data, sports data, basically anything that you can think of you can find on here if you just do a little bit of searching. And it's a nice thing to do if you're also designing a new algorithm. You have some idea of how your algorithm's going to work, then you can sort of shop around a bit to find a data set that maybe meets the assumptions that you need about that. And then an older repository for data that I decided to mention is the UCI machine learning repository, which was basically just a precursor to Kaggle, which is what you had to go on if you needed any sort of data. And that's sort of all of the classic problems that I'm talking about, like the iris data set and the Boston house price data set you could find on there. But basically, all of that data has now been uploaded to Kaggle, so it's not really worth going to anymore, but it was the original for this. And then finally, something that I didn't put in my slides, but which can be helpful for you guys, is a lot of companies will publish repos on GitHub of code that they've written for their papers. So for example, the method that Kira is going to talk about after me, Muse, Facebook published all of the code for that, and they've also published all of the data that you can use to run that code on. So you can always look on the like large AI research companies' GitHub repos to find out if they've got data available there. All right, Kira?